Hi, it's Jacqui McNaughton here at Soy UK. We're in a crop in North Clifton, Nottinghamshire, a crop of Severca soya beans, variety Severca. Really happy to welcome Bruce Knight, Dr. Bruce Knight of Legume Technology, and I would just like to ask Bruce a few questions about inoculation and soya beans. Bruce, a lot of people will be aware that when they grow soya, they need to go through a process called inoculation. Can you just explain a little bit about why that is, what inoculation does in soya, and how that whole process unfolds?
Okay, so soybean is a legume plant, and it has the ability to enter an association with a soil bacteria of the species Bradyrhizobum japonicum. And this is the same kind of association you would have with peas in the UK. The biggest thing to mention straight away is that soybean is not an indigenous plant to the UK. So if you want to have this same kind of association with this nitrogen fixing bacteria, you need to introduce it into the system. So that's what inoculation is. Inoculation is getting the right bacteria into the right place at the right time, so you can form these nodules on the root system. And these are essentially small nitrogen factories. So inside these nodules on the root system, this is where the bacteria has infected the roots, and it's set up this small cyst or small nodule on the root system, and that's where the bacteria sets up camp and forms this bacteroid structure, which essentially takes nitrogen gas from the air, breaks it apart into ammonium compounds, and gives it back to the plant. It's one of these symbiotic relationships, so the plant gets benefit from the association, and so does the bacteria. And it's the most efficient way of getting nitrogen into a soybean crop. If you look at the bigger markets around the world, say Brazil, in the States, in Canada, and Ukraine, these are all areas where inoculation has shown massive improvements to yield. And it's basically because you can have one application of a product and it will supply nitrogen through the whole cycle of the crop. And it responds to the crop's requirement for nitrogen. So at the point when the crop is requiring more nitrogen to develop the protein-rich beans, the plant will effectively feed the nodules more sugars, more carbohydrate, more energy, and in return get more nitrogen. So instead of adding bag fertilizer like ammonium nitrate, maybe once or twice through the growing cycle, you can use one product which gives you nitrogen throughout the cycle of the crop and responds to when the plant needs it most.
So at the beginning, when seed is being sown, we say to growers that they need a little bit of nitrogen in the seed bed just to get it to the first true leaf stages. What sort of levels of nitrogen do you think should be in the seed bed, Bruce?
You really want a very low level of nitrogen in the seed bed. So anything over 25 kilos per hectare would worry me a little bit. But it's really a moving target depending on what's residual in the soil anyway, so it's a little bit difficult to advise on. But one of the key things to remember is if you have too much nitrogen available in the soil at the beginning, when the seed germinates, this can delay the form of these nodulation structures on the root. So really what you want is as soon as the plant germinates, it needs to be looking for nitrogen and sending out the right signal so that the coating on the seed can supply the bacteria at the right time. The nodules will only infect the growing tip of the root. So we can tell that this plant nodulated as soon as it was germinating because the nodules are in right at the right place on the crown of the nodule. Delayed nodulation, you would see nodules on the peripheral lateral roots, and that can be an indication that there was excess nitrogen at the time of planting. However, what you should get with a good quality inoculant is a persistence of the bacteria around where the seed was planted, and so you should hopefully get some nodulation on the lateral roots if that's when the plant needed the nitrogen. But what I really like to see is this nodules around the crown of the root, which shows that the plant nodulated quickly, effectively, and that's the way to get the best out of the product. What we do with Soya UK, over several years we've developed the process of coating the soybean seed, so it's the most convenient way the grower can get the best out of the product. We've been working in the UK now for 17 years. And we adopt a process of belt and braces. So we overdose the seed with the right bacteria. We make sure the bacteria survive for several weeks on the seed to compensate for any kind of seasonal factors where you might delay planting for 2 or 3 weeks and still want the viable count on the seed. And it's the only way really to get the bacteria in the right place at the right time, with the convenience of having the product delivered to the farm ready to plant.
So Soy UK are supplying seed that is pre-inoculated, so you can go straight into the drilling process. The seed is coated. It sort of looks a little bit like peat on the seed. Would you?
Yeah, there are 2 or 3 different formulations you can get to pre-treat soybeans. Some of them would be a liquid-only prep. We make that, and some of them have a peat mixed with a polymer. The best way of keeping the bacteria alive at higher numbers for the longest possible time is to mix these 2 products together. So we supply a hybrid product, which is a liquid product with bacteria in, and a peat product with bacteria in. So we give a double dose onto the seed. In areas where soybeans have been grown for many years, there are several companies which would promote a liquid-only product. Where we see the benefit of using something that's made for UK conditions is that we've gone over and above the standard dose that you would receive from a standard product. And we do that because in the UK, just about every field where you are likely to plant soybeans will be a virgin field, something that's never had soybeans in before. And that's the type of scenario where you can see problems with nodulation. If you don't have the right product, you can run into problems where you don't get this kind of excellent nodulation that you see on this particular plant here.
Okay. Thank you, Bruce. That's really helpful to have that explained for us. Thank you very much.